And welcome to another episode of Two Moms and Some Labels. Two Moms and Some Labels is a podcast for parents and caregivers caring for a child with a disability to come together to network, commune, intervene, and just gain ideas on how to persevere through these challenging times. My name is Brittany, and I am the co-host, or I'm not the co-host, I'm the host of Two Moms and Some Labels. My co-host is not with us today. But hopefully she'll be back with us soon. And so, okay, today we are talking about aquatic therapy. Who does not love aquatic therapy? I mean, the water is just therapeutic. And I mean, my daughter, I know she loved aquatic therapy. So today I'm going to introduce my guest, or I'm going to let her introduce herself and to tell us a little bit about what she has going on with her business.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. My name is Ashley Plummer, and I am a doctor of physical therapy and a board certified pediatric specialist, meaning that I have a special certification in pediatrics due to my experience and passing a test that I had to take after I had some experience in the field. So I feel like that kind of sets me apart, that I have a little bit more knowledge than a typical new grad would. So I've worked for 13 years within the Jacksonville community at different places around town, and always worked with children that whole time. And so over the years, I've had an idea on wanting to start my own thing, but didn't really have the guts to do so. And I, started using aquatic therapy even way back into my internship as a student, and throughout all of my career, aquatics kind of kept popping up in my everyday, and just a different tool to try with my patients. And recently, post COVID, many places stopped providing aquatic therapy for kids, mainly because lots of the insurance companies weren't providing reimbursement for the service for kids, or it was definitely difficult for places to get funding for that. So they stopped doing it. And as a PT, I wanted my kids to be able to have access to the service, and I couldn't find a place to recommend for them, which is why I started Jax Kids Aquatics. So I right now am the owner and founder, and I am the only therapist working right now since I just started the business at the beginning of the year. So I'm providing physical therapy in the water. I definitely have hopes and dreams of how I can expand it as it goes on. But pretty much I provide high quality specialized aquatic physical therapy for kids birth to 18 years old with disabilities or injuries. So I have different community pool locations around Jacksonville. I tried to space them out to kind of serve all the different areas that would make it easy for families to get to. And also, I will go to your home if you do have a home pool that you'd like to use. And traveling really within Duval, Clay, St. John's. I don't have anyone in Nassau right now, but that doesn't mean that that's not a possibility. Did I hit all of them? Clay, St. John's, Duval, and I haven't gone out to Baker County because there's not much out there, but sometimes. So yeah, and I also offer like in-home land-based therapy if you are interested in that, as well as telehealth options, which I have done some aquatic telehealth sessions, mainly just to give parents some ideas and different positions to try with their child, or some suggestions on like flotation devices and things. So that's been fun.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a really good idea, to do that too. Cause, sometimes the child may be, more comfortable working with their parent, someone that they're used to being with. So
Right.
definitely, being able to have the parent, and then, you're just seeing them for maybe an hour or 30 minutes. So definitely, the parent being able to get some of those skills and, be able to continue the care for their child the rest of the, the days.
Exactly.
So Yeah,
Yes,
that
I'm a big
definitely.
champion for parent coaching and just
Mhm.
empowering the parent to be able to do what I can do if I, help them and teach them and coach them through it, because an hour a week isn't really going to do much in the grand scheme of things when you're with your child the majority of the day. So,
Right.
trying to incorporate that in an easy way into your life where it's not going to be hard or difficult. And the water is so fun anyway and rewarding for kids. So usually it's just trying to introduce things that are going to be natural and easy for you to do that you're going to feel comfortable doing with your child.
Right, and then we're in Florida, and I
Hmm.
mean, there's water all around us, so,
Yes.
hey, who doesn't wanna be in the water?
I know. It's so hot out.
And, so, I know you said that you, like, worked in other, like, clinics
Mhm.
before.
Yep.
So when you worked in other clinics, were you working with children that had disabilities also?
Yes. So started working with Brooks Rehabilitation as a new grad in the inpatient rehab hospital. So that was more, the kids were just coming out of the acute care hospital and were still not well enough to like go home yet. And I saw, lots of kids with all different types of injuries, from infants up till 18 with spinal cord injuries, brain injuries, burns, cancer. It was kind of like the full gamut of different things there, which I loved, because you saw the therapy was pretty rigorous. You got it multiple times a day, and you could see change happen really fast, which was really nice. So I worked there almost 3 years, and then transitioned to Wolfson Children's Hospital, where I also bounced around and did lots of different settings, acute care, PICU, and then transitioned to outpatient, where I did aquatic therapy for Wolfson for 3 years. So we were renting space and doing aquatics then, which I loved, and just saw all different types of kids with different diagnoses. The kids that I feel like it impacts the most, that there's the most research behind, actually, are kids with cerebral palsy. It shows that it improves their flexibility, and it improves their pain, especially for older kids that have CP, and gives them a way to exercise and move their body and improve their cardiovascular endurance, in a way where gravity isn't weighing so much on
Mhm.
them. So, I really like working with that population because I feel like it's like you said, it's like, it's just so great to see them smile and just be like,
Yeah.
oh, I can finally move because this water is allowing me to. So, um, but yeah, so I've all different types of different diagnoses. I work with different ages of kids, and I've just loved, everything that I've encountered, honestly. That's what makes it so fun and interesting.
Yeah. And so, for some people that may not know, what is aquatic therapy? Like, is it just you're just in the water, you're doing therapy in the water? Is that it? Like, what is the definition of aquatic therapy?
Yeah, so it's pretty much using the different properties of the water for like a therapeutic purpose. So, physical therapists can perform it, occupational therapists, some recreational therapists do it. I am coming at it from the physical therapist perspective. So, I ask the parent what they want to do, what their goal for their child is, and if the child's old enough, I'll ask them. But I, try to make it goal oriented to what they want to do. So I'm pretty much performing a lot of the tasks that I would do on land, but I do it in the water in a way that's easier. So I'm using the properties like buoyancy, which, it helps, depending on the depth of the water, it
Mhm.
helps alleviate weight from the body. So it's the pressure that pushes up. So, say a child is trying to stand on land and they really can't. It's very difficult. If you put them in the water, and depending on where the water comes up to them, it's going to be easier. So, the higher the water, the easier it will be. The lower the water, the harder it will be, because more weight is being lifted off their legs. So, that helps with balance and also with pain. So, kids that I've seen in the past with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis or chronic pain syndromes, this is really helpful for them alleviate that joint pressure with buoyancy. Another property is like the hydrostatic pressure of the water pushing against the body can be really helpful for kids with sensory issues, autism, because it provides like a full body compression to kind of center them and calm them. So that's another way that the water can be used and that it can be therapeutic for the child.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know that like I was saying, when we first started, my daughter, she did aquatic therapy for a while with Wolfson.
Oh,
Yeah,
yay!
where we would go to Brooks and use their pool there. And
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
gosh, I just have pictures of her just smiling and laughing.
Oh.
And oh my gosh, she was just so happy when she was in the water. And I always say too, just like with the hippo therapy, like those two, a hippo and aquatic, after she does those two, like she is out for the rest of the night. I'm like,
I
I would
know.
always be like, yes.
Yes. And that's what I've heard, some of my parents say they have, obviously they're concerned about their gross motor or their physical ability, but also, their child may not be eating well, or they can't get them to eat, or they have trouble sleeping and they just never nap longer than a couple, 15 minutes or whatever. And after my sessions, I've gotten so many texts like, "Oh my gosh, he just ate more than he's eaten in a month," or he just took the longest nap like in my arms, and he's never done that in so many years. And those things just like touch my heart, because that wasn't even my goal, but it just, because of that. And it's so fun. And just like, I'm always very hungry when I come back from the pool too.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like an added bonus.
Right. And so I know that like we had stopped aquatic therapy because my daughter, she was getting bigger, she got too big, and it was a lot and the therapist we had, she was a little bit older also. So I just, didn't feel comfortable putting all that on the therapist to deal with her, even though I know the water like helps, and the like floats and stuff that she uses. So when you are working with kiddos, do you have like a certain weight limit?
No, I don't have a certain weight limit. So as far as if a child was in a wheelchair or, very heavy on the heavier side or something, I would definitely incorporate the wheelchair lift that some of the pools that I do rent have. So whatever the safest way is going to be to get them in and out of the water, I'm going to use my, clinical decision making to do that. So if there's a wheelchair lift available, that will definitely be, that's how I will get them in and out, so that the parent can feel comfortable and they can feel secure too. And then oftentimes, some of the pools that I have don't have a lift. But I'm trained in how to transfer patients from the wheelchair to the pool deck, and the pool deck into the pool and out of the pool. So, I definitely am not going to do anything that I feel is unsafe, but it's definitely doable. I haven't encountered any patient that I couldn't get into the water. And I, definitely using the caregiver to help me or anyone. I'm definitely a big proponent of students. I have lots of students. They're like, "Can I come watch what you do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, come on, let's do this." So, I'm like, free labor. I like get them in there, help me. And these are like physical therapy, occupational therapy students. So that's been really nice that I can help them, have them be my second, like kind of like therapy aid while I'm in the water as well.
Yeah, and that's good too, that they get that exposure and experience,
Exactly.
with these children with medical complexities also,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can get an idea and just gain that empathy also for,
Right. Mm-hmm.
the population of kids. And
Exactly.
I know a lot of parents I see all the time asking like, what are floats that you guys use to help with your kids in the water? Like my child doesn't have great head control or trunk control. So when you're with the kids in the pool that don't have good, upper body control, what are some things that you use, or like techniques, or have you found any floats that have been, useful, like really good for the kids to help?
Yeah. So lots of times if they're in with me and I'm doing like hands-on, we're doing physical therapy, I try to limit my use of floats as much as possible and use my body and my hands and let them be actively trying to hold themselves up and hold their head up. If I need to add a float, if I find that it's just too difficult, I need an extra hand, I can't do what I need to do, I will add a float. There's different little neck collars that I really like. There's different kinds I have, ones filled with air, ones that are more like foam. So I kind of just try them on based on the patient's comfort. Some kids like different things. So I'll just kind of switch them in and out. And those I use a lot to relax. So trying to float them on the top of the water, I'll put the head collar on, and then I'll do some different relaxation techniques, flexibility techniques, especially for kids with spasticity or that scissor their legs together. I'll try to really, elongate their legs and try to open them up and have them relax by floating on top of the water, so that, they can get that feeling of weightlessness and relaxation, so that I can try to manually move them. I use a lot of flotation belts sometimes, or flotation wraps if kids have like an arm or a leg side that sinks, because if they're spastic, that usually sinks down into the water and makes it difficult for them to float. So if you add some sort of flotation device, that will help them lift up. One thing I think that I use most often would be little weights, usually just half-pound weights, and I'll usually add those to the ankles, and that just provides like a proprioceptive input to just let the kiddo know where their legs or where their arms are in space. Because sometimes, kids come and they're very uncoordinated and they don't know where their body is. Like when they're walking, they're falling, they're clumsy. So adding that just a little bit of extra weight gives like them that awareness of, oh, that's where I need to kick my leg, right, left, So
Yeah.
those are some things that I like to try. And there are different flotation devices out there that people have made for kids with special needs, and they go up to adult size. They can go very large. I've tried to ask them for demos because I don't really feel comfortable recommending something that I haven't tried myself with someone, and they're very expensive. So I've yet to have anyone give me a demo yet. So I can't really recommend like a certain
Yeah.
brand, but I do lots of different things with pool noodles and different things that are very cheap, to try to, make it as affordable as possible and something you could do, like
Yeah.
go to Walmart and buy,
So I know that you were saying you have parents that have sessions with you to, get suggestions
Mhm.
on different techniques and things like that. So like, what is a safety rule that you would tell or recommend to parents when they're putting their child in the pool, especially if their child has like a medical complexity as far as like getting them in and out the pool and, watching them in the pool? I don't know if
Yeah.
you've had kids that have a lot of seizures also.
Mm-hmm.
So like what are some like safety precautions that you would recommend?
Yeah. So I well, obviously the parent's going to know the child the very best, better than
Mhm.
me. So they know all of the signs, if they're having a seizure, are they in pain? Are they scared? Like they're going to know those cues better than me, especially over the video. So I kind of just talk them through it. So most of the kids that I've actually seen over video are small enough that they're just lifted in. It hasn't been an issue there. But just kind of, for example, working with someone with a visual difficulty, they're blind or, can't see well at all. I will tell the parent, instead of like holding toys up to get their attention and they're not going to be able to see those things, let's use the water and her tactile system to try to get her body to do what we want to do. So I'll have them like pour water in different heights to try
Mhm.
to see if we can get her to come towards the water, if she can't see something or things like that. If a child had a trach or something like that, I would just definitely getting medical clearance from the doctors before we would do anything like that. I tell all the parents, are they cleared by the doctor to be submerged in water, or to get different wound sites wet or different things like that.
Mhm.
And just making sure that I show them kind of like how to have their body in a good position so they're not getting hurt and, contracting their core, because I know in one of your other episodes you were saying, I have to lift my daughter all the time. And like, it's hard. Like if you have to do
Mhm.
that so much and they get bigger.
Yeah.
So it's like taking care of your body. And I try to be conscious and like teaching my parents, like lift like this, bend your knees, contract your core, like don't
Yeah.
twist like that. So definitely different techniques on transferring and different, I always go over the depth of the water and like explaining how, it's easier versus harder. Um, and just kind of following the child's lead on if you feel like they're not into it or not. Because
Yeah.
if they're looking like scared, I back out and I do something else. I try a sensory technique or something to try to help them engage again. But definitely I just mostly listen to the parents and learn from them about how to know their child for sure.
Yeah. So, if you've had kids that do have like a lot of seizures, but
Mhm.
their seizures are not where like we have to give an emergency medicine now, or
Right.
where you have to hurry up and pull them out of the pool, like how comfortable are you with that when you have
Mhm.
situations where you have a child that seizes a lot? Are you still working with them, or do you have to get clearance for those children?
So off the bat, I have a patient right now that has seizures. Now his are not where his whole body moves or anything. They're kind of just like he stares off. He's kind
Mhm.
of out of it for a second and then comes back. So in instances like that, I'm totally fine. I have no problem working. I've worked with kids with seizures for a long time. But I would get them, either hold them where their face couldn't go down into the water, they couldn't roll into the water, and I would just kind of, hold them in a position that was safe and that they were not going to, be submerged until the seizure passed, and then resume, really,
Mhm.
unless the parent feels like they can't. But lots of the kids I see, they actually have, multiple seizures a day, and it's almost become just a normal thing
Mhm.
that's just, yeah, that's what they do. And
Mhm.
the thing that pains me as a physical therapist is, some days, you'll be seeing a child with epilepsy or seizure disorder for a while, and you get all these gains and they're making progress, and you're
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, it's doing so great. And then they'll have a huge
Mhm.
seizure, and then the next day they'll just be back to like square one. And I
Yeah.
know it's like, so, it hurts my heart so much, but I know as the parent too, it's just like, it's like
Yeah.
you can never get there. So, but what I found with aquatics is that it's almost just like a place where any child can really move. You can really get any child in a position where they can have some fun and feel freedom, which is what I really enjoy about it.
Mhm.
And that they're happy and they're smiling,
Yeah.
for the most part. And I just, that's the thing that I love, because a lot of parents, sit in therapy for years and watch their child cry, and they're just like, this is terrible. Like, why am I
Mhm.
here? And so I just want to give someone, others an alternative. Like if they need a break from traditional therapy,
Right.
I get lots of referrals from other physical therapists in town that are like, my patient has plateaued, like they're just not making progress. I think they need something different. Or they have so much pain when they leave me. Like, I don't think they can tolerate land based therapy. I want to send them to you. That's my population that I really am going after, is like somebody that wants something fresh and new, to kind of revive them back into being able to do what they need to do on land.
So do you require or recommend or even just suggest that parents they stay there, during the session so that they
Mhm.
can monitor?
Oh yeah. Yep. So they sit on the edge of the pool deck if they want. Most of the older kids that I see, the parent sits on the edge because they want to do things their own way. Some kids, I feel like they were so fearful of me. Like, if I was new to them,
Mhm.
I would ask the parent to actually get in the water with me because I thought they would do better. That actually has helped a lot of times.
Yeah.
And if they were I would pretty much coach in the water to tell them exactly what I would do, and I would be assisting, until we got to a point where the child was comfortable with me, and then they would come in with me, which was usually the case. I think I only have one parent that actually gets in with me now, where I had many before. So, it's been, once they get used to it and they know the routine, they're like, oh, okay, it's fun now.
Yeah.
I'm not scared.
Right. And so are parents able to have their child do the land-based physical therapy and aquatic therapy? Are they allowed to do both?
Yes. So the reason for that is because I am not billing insurance right now. So I'm private pay only. And so that's the case, you can do both because there's no problem with the insurance. I like that approach better. And I think that it's proven, in the research that if a child is getting land based with the addition of aquatics, like maybe one time they have land a week and one time they have aquatics, the outcomes are better because they're able to practice the skills that they learn in the water on the land. If they're not, I try to in the session, like 10 minutes maybe before end, I try to do the same tasks we were doing in the water on the pool deck or
Mhm.
on land to try to see if I could translate that task to real life pretty much. So that I think that's the best way to do it for sure if it can
Yeah.
be done. And I love collaborating with other therapists because I'm by myself, so I'm a big collaborator and I like talking to other people. So any chance that they're like, oh, let's talk about this patient, and I'd really like to see how we could work together. Like, I'm going to work on the core this week. If you could really work on this to help me, that would be really great. Like,
Yeah.
that is what I love. I love, collaborating with other therapists for sure.
Yeah, and that's definitely important. And
Hmm.
I want to say when my daughter was getting her therapy, we did land and aquatic, but
Hmm.
I couldn't remember if it was like if you do the land PT, like you only can do it on a separate day, then
Hmm.
you were doing it because like the insurance or whatever. And I know
Yeah.
you were saying something about after COVID, they were like stopping the aquatic therapy. And do
Hmm.
you know why they were doing that?
I mean, I can only speculate, but I think it had to do like a lot of times, even with adults, like insurance companies will only pay for aquatics for certain types of patients. So if
Mhm.
they can only have certain type of diagnoses, and they will only pay for it for a certain amount of time because the goal is for them to be in on land.
Mm,
So it's like they'll
okay.
only pay, for 6 visits in the water and then they're done. Versus I'm not sure with kids, it's like they don't have, maybe for kids with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, because adults also have rheumatoid arthritis and we know that it works for them. But like for kids with cerebral palsy, you're like, oh well, they could just get land-based therapy, so we're not going to pay for them to get land and water, because why would they do both?
Yeah,
But because they don't understand, and it's
right.
someone sitting behind a desk that's making decisions for us, so it's
Right.
infuriating, really.
Yeah, and then I was talking about this the other day, with, Karen from Soundwave, and we were just saying, like, quality of life, like, they don't understand quality of life
No,
for our kids.
no.
They don't get it, and it's just really sad that, you have somebody, like you said, behind the desk, and I'm pretty sure they have no experience working with the child. They
Probably
probably
not.
have not been in the field, have no type of, background and experience. I'm like, they need to start requiring that people that are approving and denying these, different types of equipment or therapies for our kids. Like, I want you to have had experience dealing with this community of children,
Right.
worked in the field, something,
Mhm.
because it's just like me saying, okay, I'm going to have the neurologist come and teach, like the swimming class. That's not what their profession is. They don't have
Right.
experience in that. So,
Mhm.
I really wish they would change that, because it really just is sad for our kids that they don't take in consideration their quality of life.
Exactly. Yep.
And
I could talk all day about this topic, so
yeah.
don't get me started.
So, okay, so
Oh, I
so
wanted
you
to
said
tell you a little bit more about the insurance. So I do not take insurance and I am private pay. However, I do take the Step Up for Student scholarship.
okay.
So any kid that has that, I'm a provider for them, so they can use their funds. And also, the Down Syndrome Association of Jacksonville also has a program called Inclusion Solution Funds, which are it's money that they provide to their families that are involved in the association towards different alternative therapy things that they need, and I'm a provider for them as well. So I see a couple, a lot of, honestly, probably over half of my patients are Step Up for Students kiddos.
Okay.
So that's really great. And one of my goals, like I said, I started this business at the beginning of the year, so I'm very, very new and fresh into this. But my main goal is that I want to be able to provide aquatics for everyone that needs it, no matter if they can afford it or not. So I have in the works and different ideas about ways that I can make that happen without the use of insurance. So, looking for businesses to sponsor children to go through the program is one idea. And also just creating groups that would be more affordable. I'm really looking into just like a group where kids, like, it sounds like Ayana, that, she's in a wheelchair for, she's non-ambulatory, and just for kids to be able to be out of their chairs and do something fun and with other kids that are like them, and that they can just play and have fun in the water. And it's a way to move your body and feel good and not be in the sitting position. So I'm really trying to create community partnerships with other people in the community that have a similar, vision as me. I'm in, talking with a swim instructor right now who shares that same vision on trying to provide some sort of group for kids like that, and different, mommy and me swims, different, different kids that have pain, because that can be very isolating to have a pain syndrome that you feel like, no one else is like me. Like, why am I like this? But, being able to talk to peers and be around peers it can be a whole therapeutic thing in its own to improve them. So I have lots of ideas, and
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because I can just see Ayana now, like, laughing and smiling and hearing the other kids around.
Yay.
And oh my gosh, that would be
good.
so fun.
And what
So,
like I said about the students, we have so many great programs here in Jacksonville, PT schools, OT schools, speech schools. So pulling from them to have, different students to volunteer their time to be in the pool, to be able to assist and be an extra hand for kids that need more than one person to help them. Because I don't want it to be limited. I don't want any kid to feel like, well, it's just too much trouble for me to get in because, I'm too big, or, I just don't want to put someone else out to get me in. Like, that shouldn't be the case. Like, everyone should be able to get in.
Because I know now I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to take her to the pool, because I'm like, we live near a community pool, and I'm like, I want to take her to the pool, but I'm like, oh my gosh, like, just thinking about taking her there in her wheelchair and then trying to lift her up on a wet, slippery, siding and put her in the pool by myself. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm like, it's scary.
You would need someone else.
I'm like, I don't think, I'm already clumsy. So me with the water, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So, I definitely don't want her to feel like she's missing out. And that was something that, like I said, she really had a passion for and she loved to do. So I'm glad that you do take the Step Up for Students scholarship, because I'll have to look into that with you. So how can parents, register their kids? Like, what's the process to get started?
So I have on my website, I have like a form you can fill out that you're interested. And what I do is I do like a discovery call where I call you and I kind of ask you about your child and what you're looking for. A lot of people, especially early on, that called me thought I was a swim instructor, which right now I don't offer swim instruction. It's purely therapy right now. So I just want to make sure that people know what I do. And so a lot of questions I ask are like, does your child have physical therapy at a clinic? Have they had physical therapy in the past, or aquatic therapy? And to make sure that they have like a gross motor need that I would be the best person suited to treat. And if I find through that conversation that they are a good fit, and then I'll say, okay, well, let's set up, these are the schedules. Do you need a community pool, or do you have a home pool? And then I put them on the schedule. And that first visit, I do an evaluation. I try to do lots of like movement analysis where I'm like taking videos of how they're moving. And then kind of so I can see and analyze like what I need to work on. And then I actually have that as like a before and after to make sure that, hey, look, we're actually making progress. This looks good. So, and it doesn't necessarily have to make progress for people that just need a way to move and to feel better. And that, cardiovascular endurance wise, that also is fine. Like, it doesn't have to be this whole thing where like if you don't make progress, you're getting kicked out. Like, it's not like that. Yeah. So, yeah, so they can fill out that form. They can message me on Instagram, Facebook. I have all that. And then, I have a quick turnaround time. So we'll get you in like as soon as we have that conversation together.
Cool. So, okay, I know that, you said that it doesn't have to be like, you have to come X many times or, what have you. If, you're seeing a child, you're treating them, you do your evaluation, and you like make a plan of how many times a week or a month that they need to be seen, to see progress or meet the goals. With the scholarship, students have different matrix scores, so they have different amount of funds available to spend. So how does that work if, the one student doesn't have, enough funds to be able to cover all of the sessions? Like, are you still going to be able to treat them and, use a different plan, or how does that work?
Yeah. So since I'm not billing insurance, the plan that I have really is I evaluate them. I make my own goals about what I think, and with the parent, asking them what they want to work on, or the child what they want to work on, make my goals. And then I say, I really think it would be beneficial if you want to work on this goal, which is walking independently. I really think I need to see you once a week. And if they're getting like land-based once a week, or if the parent says, hey, I only have like this amount of money left in my step up for students before it runs out, like, can we just do once a month or once every other week? I'm like, sure, yeah, fine. And I'd say, like, I think that would be fine. I think that one time a week would be better if we're trying to get rid of her pain or make her feel more comfortable, but that's fine. I'm like, I am not, that's the beauty of not taking insurance. I am not bound by insurance. I am not bound by anybody I work with to like do a certain thing. It is very freeing and great. So, and I always did the best I possibly could, but when you work in a clinic and you're seeing patients back to back to back for 10 hours a day, you get tired and the paperwork, comes up. But it's like when you're paying someone for the service and they are invested in you and have the time to give you the best possible service, that's what's happening when you're privately paying for something, which should happen at least.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I work, the parent's very aware of how much they have in the account, and I am aware too. So what usually happens is I see them for one session and I bill by the one session. And I see them first and then input it into their Step Up for Students portal, and then, get reimbursed later by Step Up for Students. So, I just communicate with the parents on what they want. And, if they're like, hey, I really want to continue, but, I can only afford to pay this much or whatever, I work with people. So.
Oh, nice. Good.
Yeah.
So, what are some improvements that you have seen from kids, especially, that have like the spasticity or cerebral palsy? Like, what are some improvements that you have seen with the aquatic therapy?
Yeah. So one specific thing that even stunned me, I was treating one little boy with cerebral palsy, who came actually from out of town for an intensive with another therapist that's a dear friend of mine. She's an OT, and has her own business doing intensives with kids. It's called Blossom and Grow,
Okay.
and OT. And she thought that it would be good for us to kind of combine forces where she would see him one part of the day and then I would see him, later in the day. And so the combination of us treating together, and we treated him for 5 days straight. So it was an intensive time where he was
Yeah.
getting therapy almost all day. It was really great. So he, diplegic CP, his legs are very involved, he's very tight. And so I started the pool we were in. I was going, to a location. The pool was very cold. And the temperature of the water, that's something I forgot to mention before. The temperature of the water is very impactful on spasticity. So the cold increases spasticity where warmth decreases, makes spasticity lessen. So he was super getting tighter and was, tensing, because
Yeah.
it's like when you jump into a
Right.
cool water, like we are like, oh,
Yeah.
So obviously he was too. So I was like, you know what? I have a wetsuit and I'm going to try to put a wetsuit on him to maintain the body heat. And then we're going to try again. So the next day, brought the wetsuit, put it on. I did a lot of stretching, coordinated with the OT on what she was doing. So I mimicked kind of different things that she was doing that I thought would help her, and did lots of flexibility, rotation, trying to get the trunk moving in different ways, the lower trunk to disassociate movement, and get both of his legs moving opposite of each other. And I did a, before and after video of him at the beginning of the session, at the end of the session, after I had done that all in the wetsuit. And the speed at which he was walking was immensely greater. He was a lot faster. But just the way he was moving was so much more fluid and not as tight and restricted. And that was just one session. So
Wow.
it's like I said, using the properties of the water are really important, and really, it's not just getting in there and swimming around. It's like knowing what the kid needs. And, if their muscles are low, if they have low tone, they need a colder pool because
Yeah.
they need to excite their muscles more.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah. Mm-hmm. And kids with pain also do better in a warm pool to warm their muscles and their joints. So,
Okay. Yeah, I think, when we had to go in the pool, we had to have a warmer pool because my daughter has spasticity. So, yeah, I think we had a wetsuit too. So,
yeah.
man. So what is your information that people can get to be able to find you? Your website, your social media. How
Yep.
can they get in touch?
So website is jaxkidsaquatics.com. My Instagram is Jax Kids Aquatics. That's the one that I feel like I pay the most attention to, like put the most effort into. And then Facebook is Jax Kids Aquatics also. So yeah, definitely you can see a lot of my different videos and different things that I do on there. And lots of my patients are okay with me, taking video of them and sharing with them, because they want to get the word out too about like how great this service is, and really what it can be used for different
Yeah.
ways. So, and just I also add just some different gross motor things you can do with your kids, physical therapy type stuff in there too, just to educate parents on ways that they can help their child at home.
Cool. And so I hope that, we have answered all of your questions and we didn't forget anything. I think that I covered all the bases.
Yeah.
Definitely, if you have questions, if you want to get services started, please make sure you reach out to Ashley. Go to her Instagram page, or her website. And I mean, the aquatic therapy, like I said, my daughter, she absolutely loved it. And I am looking forward to talking with you about it and trying to get
Yeah.
back started. Cause like I said, I just had this fear like, oh my gosh, she's too big. Nobody can be able to, lift her, and it's just going to be too hard. So, I'm really excited about that. And, just having something that, my child loves to do is just a plus. I want to do something again that increases her quality of life and makes her happy. We all deserve to do something fun in life. And if that's the thing that she loves to do and wants to do, then that's what I want her to be able to experience and continue to keep doing.
That's
so
awesome.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for coming on here and sharing all this info,
Thank you
talking
so
about
much
your
for having me.
business. Yeah. So remember, guys, to go on to Jax Aquatics on her Instagram page and Facebook. And thank you again, Ashley. This is Two Moms and Some Labels, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.